I'm Neville Hobson. I'm a communication consultant that involves communication like public relations and internal communication, working with companies to help them figure out digital generally. Social media definitely crops up a lot. Because it represented a huge shift in who could do what with such tools, meaning anyone, an individual, a work group, an organization. It took it outside the realm of only those companies who could afford specialist software and stuff like that. So it liberated people to enable them to communicate. So the interest to me is what people can do with the tools rather than the tools themselves, although they're interesting too. In the online PR community, in fact in the PR community generally, there's been a big debate over the last 4 or 5 years about press releases, starting with a fellow called Tom Foremski in San Francisco, an ex-FT journalist, who wrote a seminal post called Die Press Release, Die, 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 a big story about their waste of time. That prompted a development of what was variously known as a social media press release, which has taken that document and adding rich content links to it. Hasn't taken off in the sense that there's no standard template, people are tinkering with it, but it points the way to adding more value to your messaging using a traditional tool like a press release. It's a real mix, a mashup if you will, of people trying to adapt to the new landscape, which is more to do with a shift in how you think about engaging with people, how you think about communicating, indeed how you think about marketing. Some people have made that switch in their minds, and that's reflected in how they do business in their own organizations. Others haven't. Some won't, and others will resist it. So you have serious disruption, huge disruption, big collisions between traditional ways of doing business and these newer ways of doing business. Some who have made that shift to embrace both are doing very well, and there's handfuls of examples you can think of organizations who have embraced the informality and the more transparent way of connecting with people. But this is an evolutionary step, and what works in one organization isn't necessarily exactly the case you can replicate in another. A lot of it is down to culture and organization, attitude, mindset, all of those things. So it's an exciting time. I see the shifts happening constantly, frankly. The reality is that you, the creator of the message, aren't in control of the message once it's out there. Up to the moment you release it, of course you are, because you create it, but once it's out there, so the traditional means of communicating from a PR point of view, you issue a press release to the mainstream media and they publish it. Nowadays other people intercept that and add their take on your announcement, so your message is different. So who controls the message? I believe no one actually controls it. It's not the customers in control or bloggers or anyone in the social spaces. No one is in control, but everyone enriches your message, hopefully. It shifts meaning, and you have to recognize that. So resisting the fact that control is gone is a huge mistake, and yet people are making it all the time. If you try and, I think, jump on bandwagons and look at these kind of rigid ways of doing it, that becomes obvious after a while that it's not really genuine. So the only thing I could say is what I do, frankly, is just believe in yourself and what you think about and what you are keen on, what you're interested in. Write or talk or tweet or whatever about that whenever you feel like it. So from a business point of view, some would argue, I've had this conversation with people, that doesn't work for your business. I disagree. I think it does. You have to be honest, you have to be transparent, and you have to be passionate, and people will notice that.